a trigger mechanism, but it didn't seem to attach to anything. And at the end of the barrel, it sort of flared out a little bit, just like a trumpet, and had like a coil like you'd find in a car cigarette lighter, you know. And it was really old, really worn. And I showed it to, no, it wasn't quite that old, but I showed it to Kathy, and she said, you could just make out that there are some letters there. And so when I looked under it with the magnifying apparatus, I could just make out it was Buck Rogers written on that angle. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it was Buck Rogers first appeared in like 1926, and those guns go back to like the early 30s, that sort of period. And so it was basically a Buck Rogers toy gun.
Oh.
So, yeah. I know, and I almost tossed it in the trash. I was like, this is a piece of junk. But no, in fact, it's quite a collectible item, you know, which is basically an antique.
Totally an antique. Wow. Buck Rogers.
It was...
So that
What is it? It was made of materials that made it appear to be like real?
Well, it's full metal.
It was all metal, and it was a toy.
Handmade. A machine?
It was machine made, but it was pretty rudimentary. Quite heavy. Not at all like it. Well, you wouldn't find many toy guns today, I would imagine, but
No.
you know, not at all. You know, it was the real deal. You know, it was like very futuristic, and it's worth something today. It's probably worth $150.
Probably more than that.
I think
nostalgia sells so well.
I think I'd already done a search, and they were like 130 to 180. That's
pretty
sort of range.
Scary, sad, you know, when nostalgia sells more than sex.
Sex will always sell.
Sex is the sin that keeps on giving.
Sin, it's the opposite of sin. It's
yeah, but for the church, for politics, sin is it. I mean, and sex is the sin. It's the
right. That's why the church and the politics needs to be eradicated, and we need to put sex up on a pedestal. You know.
You sound like Christopher Hitchens there.
Good. He was a great man. Great man.
He was a great man. Christopher Hitchens, to you.
Absolutely. He stood up for what he believed in. He was his real ability was as an orator, and his mastery of the language combined...
Unexcelled. I mean, who could debate Chris Hitchens and win?
You may be close to his intellectual equal on some level, but unless you can match his mastery over the English language, which no one could, then you're...
Oh, he's definitely my better. I mean,
he's going to come out on top, and he always did.
But I agree with at least, so I'm ahead if I agree with him.
Yeah, I pretty much agreed with everything. Pretty much everything, not everything.
I would, one of the smartest guys I wouldn't expect to win a debate with hardly is Victor Davis Hanson. And he's the last and the first, I guess, of the Trump supporters that I find baffling, you know. It's baffling. He lives in Salinas, and he works for the Hoover Institution, which Hoover was the rabid capitalist of before FDR. Capitalism will fix everything, just leave it alone. And then there was the crash. But he founded the Hoover Institute at Stanford, where all these, you know, I mean, they're smart people, but they really believe in capitalism as it. I mean,
there.
I can't. Well, I mean, the agenda for the GOP under Trump is privatization, and that makes all the difference.
Mate, I've got to use your toilet.
Yeah, go.
Sorry.
Here, hold on, I'm changing my.
Yeah, it's just too much of a. It's too much. Too much of a. We can see where this air goes if I have smoke, but
He's in the one of the restroom.
I got the camera rolling. May I have a beer?
Yeah.